This is day 23 of Advent of Cyber 2025, and this challenge is called AWS Security S3cret Santa. One of our stealthiest infiltrated elves managed to hop the way into S3cret's office and, lo and behold, discovered a bundle of cloud credentials just laying around on his desktop like forgotten carrots. Agent suspects these could be the key to regaining access to TBFC's cloud network. Only the poor hare had the faintest clue what the cloud is. He'd burrow in himself. Let's help the elf utilize these credentials to try to regain access to TBFC's cloud network. The learning objectives for this challenge are to learn the basics of AWS accounts, enumerate the privilege to an account from an attacker's perspective, and familiarize yourself with the AWS CLI. For this challenge, we need to start the virtual machine and it will open up in split screen view. AWS accounts can be accessed programmatically by using the access key ID, the secret access key. For this room, both of those will be automatically configured for you. The AWS CLI will look for credentials at the home directory /.aws/credentials. We should see something similar to the following: an AWS access key ID, and then an AWS secret access key. Amazon Security Token Service, STS, allows us to utilize the credentials of a user that we have saved during our AWS CLI configuration. We can use the getCaller identity call to retrieve the information about the user we have configured for the AWS CLI. To do that, you run the command AWS STS get-caller-identity. And then when you run that, you are returned with JSON about your user, the account that it's for, and the ARN for that user. So seeing the output, the elf was overjoyed. The credentials work, and as can be seen by the name at the end, they belong to S3cret. The elf can now attempt to regain access to TBFC's cloud network using these credentials. So mine hasn't loaded up yet, but if you run it, what is the number shown for the account parameter? If we try this, would it work? Okay, no, so I need to actually wait for my virtual machine to fully load up. Okay, mine is up. So I'll open up the terminal, run AWS STS, then get-caller-identity, and the identity for this user is this. And the account number is right here. We will copy that and paste it into here. And we'll now go onto IAM users, roles, groups, and policies. So AWS utilizes the identity and management IAM service to manage users and the access to various resources, including the actions that can be performed against those resources. Therefore, it is crucial to ensure that the correct access is assigned to each user according to the requirements. Misconfiguring IAM has led to several high-profile security incidences in the past, giving attackers access to resources they were not supposed to access. Companies like Toyota, Accenture, and Verizon have been victims of such attacks in the past, often exposing customer data or sensitive documents. Below, we will discuss the different aspects of IAM that can lead to sensitive data exposure if misconfigured. So IAM users. A user represents a single identity in AWS. Each user has a set of credentials, such as passwords or access keys, that can be used to access resources. Furthermore, permissions can be granted at a user level, defining the level of access a user might have. IAM groups. Multiple users can be combined into a group. This can be done to ease the access management for multiple users. For example, in an organization employing hundreds of thousands of people, there might be a handful of people who need right access to a certain database. Instead of granting access to each user individually, the admin can grant access to a group and add all the users who require right access to that group. When a user no longer needs access, they can be removed from the group. IAM roles. IAM role is a temporary identity that can be assumed by a user, as well as by services or external accounts, to get certain permissions. Think of S3cret, how depending on the battlehead, you might need to assume the role of an attacker or defender. When becoming an attacker, he'll get permission to wield a shiny sword, but when assuming the role of defender, he will instead get permissions to carry a shield to better defend King Malhead. IAM policies. Access provided to any user, group, or role is controlled through IAM policies. Policy is a JSON document that defines the following: what action is allowed, action, on which resources, resource, on which condition, and for whom, principal. So consider the following hypothetical policy. So with this policy, we have the statement where we are allowing the principal user Alice to perform the action of get object within the S3 service, but more specifically on the resource my-private-bucket and /* to specify any file that's in this bucket. So what IAM component is used to describe the permission be assigned to a user or a group. And get that one's action. Alright, let's talk about policy. Okay, now the practical, enumerating a user's permission. So let's see what we can do with the credentials we got from Sir Carbane's office. Since we've already configured them in our environment, we can start interacting with the AWS CLI to find more information. So we'll begin with AWS IAM list users, and we can see this one user, which is Sir Carabane, which is our user. So next, we're going to be enumerating policies. So AWS IAM the NIC list user policies, and we're going to specify that the user we're wanting to search for is Sir.Carabane, and we can see there's one policy that is assigned to the user called Sir Carabane policy. So we're going to then see what policies are attached to the account. So AWS IAM list attached user policies, and the user name we're searching on is Sir.Carabane. So there's no policies attached. So let's go list groups for user. AWS IAM list groups for user with the user name of Sir.Carabane. So spelled command wrong, so get rid of that U and retry. Okay, they are part of no groups. So there was one policy that we saw, and we're going to retrieve that. So AWS IAM get-user-policy. I'm going to specify the policy name of, actually I cleared my terminal, so let me just bring that back up. It's a Carabane policy. So AWS IAM get-user policy, and the policy name is Carabane policy, and the user name is Sir.Carabane, and we've got that policy here. We can see the actions they can perform. So they've got access to a bunch of IAM actions and then one STS to assume role. Okay, so the answer here, what is the name of the policy assigned to Sir Carabane? Sir Carabane policy. Now onto assuming roles. So the STS assume role action was previously found allows Sir Carabane to assume roles. Perhaps we can try to see if there's any interesting ones available. Let's start by listing the existing roles in the account. So let's do AWS IAM list roles, and we can see there's the bucket master role. So we are going to assume the role of bucket master of AWS IAM list. And we're going to first look at this policy. List policies, got role name for bucket master. Then there's one policy for bucket master, which is right there. Also going to check to see if there's any attached role policies for the role name bucket master. Okay, they don't have anything attached, but we will look deeper into the policy there to see if what it has access to. We're going to be getting the policy for the role name bucket master and the policy name bucket master policy, and we can see this policy can perform the actions of list all my buckets. So throughout S3, we can list buckets, and we can do list bucket on the resources Easter Secrets and Bunny website, and then we can perform get object on just the Easter Secrets bucket. Now that we know this, we are going to go assume the role of STS, assume role. We're going to use role on of on AWS IAM, and it's on the account 1234567891012, and more specifically the role bucket master, and we're going to create a role session name of TBFC. Okay, did something incorrect there. There we go. Okay, so this command will ask SCSC, service in charge of AWS security tokens, to generate a temporary set of credentials to assume the bucket master role. The temporary credentials will be referred by the session name TBFC. So what we want to do now is export these credentials with AWS access key ID. We want to set this to the access ID we just received. So that's the access key, and then there's the secret access key, and finally the session token. I need to make sure I add that F in because I accidentally cut it off. Okay, so now that these are entered, next thing we need to do is just to double check that's all working. So AWS STS get caller identity. And we can see we have the assumed role of bucket master, and it's the TBFC session. So apart from get object and list bucket, what other actions can be assumed by bucket master role? So within here, we did take a look. We can do list all buckets. Maybe that's not right. List all my buckets. List all my buckets. Okay, now we're up to grabbing a file from S3. So before we continue, we need to know what exactly S3 is. It stands for the Simple Storage Service. It is an object storage service provided by AWS that can store any type of the object, such as images, documents, logs, and backup files. Companies often use S3 to store data for various reasons, such as reference images for their website, documents to be shared with clients, or files used by internal services for internal processing. Any object you store in S3 will be put into a bucket. And think of a bucket as a directory where you can store files, but in the cloud. So what we are going to do now is using AWS S3 API, we're going to list buckets. So you can see there's 2 buckets there. The one we're interested in is the Easter secrets one. So we'll do AWS S3 API list objects and specify the bucket as Easter secrets 123.145, which apparently didn't work for us. I did the wrong name. Here we can see cloud password txt and then groceries. So we will of course retrieve the cloud passwords ones. So get object bucket Easter secrets 123.145 and --key to specify what file we want, password txt, and then we want to retrieve it with the same name, so cloud password.txt. So that should be in our local directory. Doing ls, we can see it's there. So now we'll do cat cloud password.txt, and we can see the flag right there. So now all we need to do is copy it and paste and submit. So that's day 23 of Advent Cyber 2025 complete. Like this video, make sure to like and subscribe.